Just give it a few seconds here. Um, anyway, I been meaning to come on here before now this week and go over a lesson that I talked about in the prodigals group. Um, anyway, it's in First Samuel chapter 9. Um, and really what this is talking about is the plan, the providential will and plan of God, and how we can't see that until we get to a point that uh, we're actually living it. And then he shows it to us afterwards, um, which I've experienced many a times, actually. Uh, Maybe for First Samuel chapter 9 is about the first king of Israel, Saul. And it's where it's introducing him. And him and a servant of his dad's goes off to find the donkeys that have escaped and run off. And so they go out searching. They're searching for several days. Finally, Saul looks at the servant and says, we just need to go ahead and head home. That way, all of a sudden my dad doesn't become more concerned about us rather than the donkeys when we're okay. And he ends up, possibly sending other people. Ashley, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. It seems to be working fine on this end, but hopefully it'll start working for you. So anyway, Saul says, the servant of Saul's father says to him, because they came near this one city, and he said to him, he said, behold, there is a man, verse 6, chapter 9, there is a man of God in the city, and the man is held in honor. All that he says surely comes true. Now let us go there. Perhaps he can tell us about our journey on which we have to set out. And so he's saying, hey, Andrew. So he's saying, let's go over to the city and go see this prophet, which is who he's talking about. He's talking about Samuel. And maybe he can tell us where these donkeys are at or what we need to do further from here. And verse 7, then Saul said to his servant, behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is gone from our sack, and there is no present to bring the man of God. What do we have? And so Saul tries to not go. He's more worried about getting home, to be honest with you. He's more worried about getting back to back to his dad's farm, and he really doesn't want to go into the city. He's trying to make an excuse of why not to go. And the servant answered Saul again and said, behold, I have in my hand a fourth of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God, and he will tell us our way. And so even the servant comes up with a way to do this. He has his own piece of money, and he says, I'll use this just so we can find out what we need to know. And then I jump down to verse 10. Then Saul said to his servant, well said, come, let us go. So they went to the city where the man of God was. And so as they go into the city, they're having to travel into the city. They don't know where to find him, Samuel. So they asked somebody, hey, where is he at? And they said, well, he's right there in front of you. He just came in also. And so they go and catch up with him. But what really gets me is verse 15 and 16. Because Saul and his servant is this day, but we get an insight into what God is doing. Verse 15 says, "Now a day before Saul's coming, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel, saying, About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him to be the prince over my people, Israel. And he will deliver my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have regarded my people because their cry has come to me." So Samuel already knows Saul's coming. The day before what happens in verse 6 through 10, God reveals it to Samuel. He says, I'm sending. God is sending Saul. So even though when we read verse 6 down through 10, Saul's servant believes that it's an idea to go to this city. Saul believes it's an idea that they just came up with to go to this city. In fact, Saul's trying to make excuses not to go, even though his servant is saying, no, I have the means, so let's go. And without being able to dismiss it again, Saul says, well said, come, let us go. And so Saul can't make any more excuses not to go. But the servant really believes that it's his idea, that he just came up with this. And so this is really the hand of God working in somebody's life to say, no, I've already planned this. God says, I already planned this. I've already set this up. I already know what I'm doing. This is a providential plan of mine that's going to use other people's lives. And he doesn't force these guys to go. He doesn't make them. He directs everything. So they undeniably have every reason and ability to go. In fact, God has set up the placing. He has set up the opportunity. He has set up the means. He has done everything in God's own power to make sure that Saul does exactly what God has already told Samuel is going to happen. And so for me, whenever I looked at this and really read it, this is quite a few times I've read this so far, just reading through the Bible. But when I read this again and really looked at it, is how much can we trust God? We can trust him beyond what we can imagine. We don't get to know. I said this in another deal, that we don't get to know all the answers. And Romans 8:24 and 25 tell us that if we did get to know all the answers, then what use is it to trust God? Because hope that is seen is not hope at all. There's nothing to trust in if we have all the answers from the get-go. But Samuel's given the answer, but he doesn't tell anybody. He simply waits for God to do what he said he's going to do. But Saul doesn't know what God's going to do. He hasn't been told this. The servant hasn't been told this. And so what they're simply doing is working off the way God has guided things, the way God has led everything into position for this all to take place. And so even though sometimes we think, well, this is taking too long. People are worried about what's going to happen with me. But if we stay focused on God and take a look at where he's guiding us as we go, it'll make a huge difference. Because when we least expect it, something that God has been working on and planning and getting put in position and getting put into opportunity will arise and make itself known to us. And so for me, that's just one place that I wanted to talk about. And like I said, I've been meaning to come on here before now. But I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope everybody is being safe and been having a good week. Just more and more changes keep coming along, so just be careful and just be careful how you're doing things and what's going on. Just keep yourselves aware of what's happening. So anyway, like I said, that's 1 Samuel 9, 6 through 10, and then verse 15 and 16. Just know that God's providential will and plan will prevail in how he works things. We just need to stay focused on him and how he's doing things. So anyway, thank you all for joining me, and hopefully I'll get back on here this weekend sometime. So thank you all. Talk to you soon. God bless.